フェニックス。君のことを覚えているよ。君は強いよ。でも君のような人に負けるわけにはいかないんだ。
Paul, with his vision blurring, managed a weak smile before slipping into unconsciousness. Medics rushed in to tend to the fallen fighter, carefully carrying him off the stage. The atmosphere was thick, the audience in awe, confused by what they had just witnessed. Kazuya had crushed everyone who dared stand in his way. Now, only one opponent remained. As he stood alone, breathing heavily, the silence of the arena was suddenly broken by a voice over the loudspeaker. The voice was cold and familiar. Heihachi Mishima.
十分なパフォーマンス、カズヤ。前回対戦した時から君は確かに強くなった。だが君はまだ若い若者、つまり戦尺を起こした子供に過ぎない。だが今君が対峙すべき相手はもう誰も残っていない。どうやらもう一度教えてやる必要がありそうだ。
平馬、お前の試合はもうたくさんだ。この大会は俺が勝ったんだ。のとこらしく素顔を見せろ。そして終わりにしよう。
余計なやつだ。私に要求できると思っているのか。望みは叶うだろうが、ここでは無理だ。いや、我々の戦いにはもっとふさわしい舞台がある。陶器町の外に車が待っている。忍ぶかがエスコとする。君がどこまで成長したかを見るときだ。また会おう。
The mere sound of his voice infuriated Kazuya. However, he knew exactly what Heihachi was implying. Without a word, he left the arena, following the directions given, his mind singularly focused on the confrontation ahead. Outside, Heihachi's men stood waiting beside a sleek black vehicle. They said nothing, merely gesturing for Kazuya to get in. He complied. The time had finally come. The car sped away, leaving the cheering and bewildered crowd behind. The drive stretched endlessly, anticipation tightening its grip with every passing moment. At last, the vehicle came to a stop at their destination, the Mishima estate, a place etched into Kazuya's memory. The car halted at the base of a towering cliff, the very same cliff where Heihachi had cast Kazuya down all those years ago. He stepped out of the vehicle, the cold air biting against his skin. His gaze lifted to the edge of the cliff, where Heihachi stood waiting, his silhouette sharp against the glow of the sun. It was an appropriate setting. This was where it had all begun. And now, it would end here.
Yokoso, Kazuya. ぴったりだろう。私があなたを処分したまさにその場所よ。そして今、あなたは這い戻ってきた。何のために？復讐。あなた自身は何を言いたいですか？
ロイボレよ、お前が私を襲ったのだ。目を追い取れ。私を強くしたかったのか。まあ私はここにいる。今、すべてを使うとは どういうことかお見せしましょう。
そうか、君のお母さん。君はあの日の出来事と何も知らない。彼女の心の中には俺があった。君も心の中には俺がある。そうだろう、和也。ああ、そう思ったよ。とにかく君が本当に私が捨てた子供から成長したのかどうか、サンジャパの命にふさわしいことを証明するために見せてくれないか。それとも以前のように落ちてしまうのか。
The wind howled like a beast around them. Father and son stood face to face, the weight of their shared history bearing down on them like an unrelenting force. This was the moment they had both anticipated, the moment that would determine the fate of the Mishima legacy. As Kazuya stood before Heihachi, a storm of emotions churned within him. Rage, hatred, and a seething hunger for revenge surged through his veins. But beneath it all, there was something unexpected: clarity. Throughout the tournament, in his battles with Lee, Yoshimitsu, King, Law, and especially Paul, Kazuya had felt the devil gene stir within him, whispering promises of power and victory. In those moments, he had surrendered to its influence, his consciousness fading as the devil inside him seized control. But not this time. Not against Heihachi. This battle was different. This battle was personal. He wanted to face Heihachi as himself, not as a vessel for the devil gene, not with the supernatural power that had carried him through so many battles. This was about pride, about proving that his strength and will alone were enough to claim his place as the true heir of the Mishima legacy. He wanted to feel every blow, every strike, every moment of this fight. He wanted Heihachi to see that his power, forged through suffering and determination, surpassed his own. The devil gene had its uses, but this fight would be fought purely as father and son, with no interference.
Kazuya Mishima versus Heihachi Mishima.
The two Mishimas fought to the bitter end, each willing to give everything for their pride and to prove who was truly worthy of the Mishima name. It was the purest form of combat, and they reveled in its glory. With a final roar, Kazuya launched himself at Heihachi, his fist connecting with his father's jaw, sending him staggering back. Heihachi fell under the weight of the blow, the son having finally defeated the father. Kazuya stood over Heihachi, his chest heaving with each ragged breath. He had reached his limit, but he stood victorious. Below him, Heihachi lay motionless, his once proud frame broken. He stared down at his father, the man who had thrown him away, who had stolen his mother from him, who had tried and succeeded in defeating him at every turn. A flicker of satisfaction stirred within him, a vindication decades in the making. He had defeated Heihachi without the devil gene, without deceit or trickery, but with his own hands, his own strength. He had proven himself the superior Mishima, the one truly worthy of the legacy. As Kazuya continued to gaze down at his defeated father, another feeling began to stir within him. Something dark, something primal. The hatred that had driven him all these years continued to burn as fiercely as ever. And now, he had the power, the opportunity to end it, to finish what had begun all those years ago on this very cliff.
イーベル、よくやったなんよ。お前は自分のやり方で平馬を倒した。だが今、教えてくれ。君の望みは何だ？平馬を倒し、賛同再発を手に入れた。それをどうする？自分がこの時でどれも支配的な存在であることを直に示すがいい。立ちはだかる者を叩き潰すのだ。正当に自分のものを手に入れるのだ。
Kazuya's eyes widened slightly as the words ignited ambition within him, a desire that had always lingered, buried beneath his thirst for revenge. Absolute power, domination over everything and everyone. His heart thundered in his chest, his mind a storm of racing thoughts as the devil's whispers amplified the darkness already rooted within him. It was a dangerous synergy. Victory wasn't enough. He wanted more. He wanted it all. The world would know his name, bow before his strength, and he would ensure that no one would ever have the power to challenge him again. A twisted smile curled on Kazuya's lips. He had defeated Heihachi, and now he would seize everything that came with it. The devil gene pulsed through him, feeding his ambition, amplifying his darkest desires. There was no turning back now. Heihachi had forged a monster, and without his mother, there was no one left to anchor the last remnants of light that stirred within him.
死を壊せると思ったのか、ジジイ。私は世界を支配する。強い者だけが生き残る。お前はいつも言っていた。高いとは誰が生き残るかということだ。それ以外はない。
After the tournament, Marshall recovered from his injuries and returned home to his family with good news. Despite not winning, the consolation prize money he earned for progressing as far as he did was enough to provide his family with much-needed relief. On top of that, an unexpected blessing arrived. A generous gift from Yoshimitsu, another competitor, who had robbed the Mishima Zaibatsu and redistributed the wealth to poor families across many regions around the globe, including Marshall's neighborhood. This windfall allowed Marshall to finally achieve his dream of opening his own dojo. With the funds, he established a training space where he could pass on the teachings of Master Han Yip and provide a better life for his family. For the first time in a long while, the burden of financial struggle was eased, even if only slightly. It was a beginning, a small but significant step toward the future he had always envisioned. Not long after the grand opening, students began showing interest, many of them young, full of potential. As he guided them through their first stances, Marshall realized that the legacy he was building wasn't just about martial arts. It was about passing on the values Master Han Yip had instilled in him: discipline, balance, and the strength to rise above life's struggles. His students didn't know it yet, but they weren't just learning martial arts, they were learning to fight for themselves, for their dreams, just as he had. Marshall looked at the modest dojo he had built, filled with hope. He knew this was just the beginning. there were still many challenges ahead. But with his family beside him and the legacy of Master Han Yip to uphold, Marshall was ready. His journey had only just begun. As the lights in Jack's eyes flickered out, the data from its final moments were transmitted back to its creators. The defeat was total, but so too was the learning. In the lab, as scientists and military officials gathered, the decision was unanimous. Jack would be rebuilt, stronger, smarter, and more capable than ever before. As the day concluded, the remains of Jack were taken back to the lab. Its handlers, while initially satisfied with its performance against prototype Jack, were concerned about the losses to King, and most importantly, to Kazuya, the sole purpose of its creation. Jack underwent a series of upgrades as new artificial intelligence chips were discovered among Boskonovich's belongings. Unaware of the full extent of the new technology they had found, the Russians, with no other options, made the decision to install the chips, desperate to enhance Jack's combat effectiveness by any means necessary. Alongside the installation of the new artificial intelligence chip, the military brass, impressed by Jack's overall performance and potential, made a pivotal decision. They initiated the mass production of Jack units, envisioning an army of these formidable machines. Assembly lines were hastily set up in secret facilities across the country as engineers worked tirelessly to replicate and refine the Jack model. The development of the Jack 2 model had begun. However, something unintended happened during these upgrades. In the original Jack model, the new artificial intelligence began to process more than just battle strategies. It started to spark the first signs of what seemed to be consciousness. Jack, once just a tool for warfare, began experiencing brief, inexplicable flashes of what humans might call curiosity and desire. This anomaly went unnoticed by the scientists, who were more focused on quantity and combat efficiency. As identical Jack units rolled off the production lines, a silent revolution began brewing within the intricate circuits of Jack 2. Her journey in the tournament had come to an end, but the real battle, the one within herself, was far from over. In the quiet aftermath of her defeat, Michelle began to question, was she truly honoring her father's memory? Or was she, as Nina suggested, simply chasing ghosts, simply chasing revenge? After returning from the tournament, Michelle found herself back in the familiar landscapes of her Arizona home. The desert's vast expanse provided a stark contrast to the intense, crowded arenas she had left behind. As she walked through the sun-baked terrain, her mind wrestled with the events of the past weeks. Nina's cold words echoed in her thoughts. Initially, these words had stung, but now they prompted deeper reflection. How could she truly honor her father's memory? Was revenge the only path? Or was there a way to carry his legacy forward that didn't revolve around Heihachi Mishima? As she pondered these questions, Michelle's hand instinctively went to the pendant around her neck. She felt a faint pulse of energy, almost in tune with her own heartbeat. It was then that she realized there was more to this artifact than her father had ever revealed. In the weeks that followed, Michelle dedicated herself to unraveling the mysteries of the pendant. She consulted tribal elders, pored over ancient texts, and spent long nights meditating in the desert, seeking to understand the power she now carried. Gradually, she began to sense a connection between the pendant and something ancient and powerful. An entity her research suggested might be a connection to the tale of the legendary ogre. This revelation both excited and terrified her. Her parents had protected this secret to shield her from the dangers it presented. Now she understood that her role as guardian extended far beyond a simple piece of jewelry. As she delved deeper into her studies, Michelle found a new purpose emerging. She wasn't just protecting a relic or avenging her father. She was safeguarding a power that could shape the state of the world. This realization brought with it a sense of peace and renewed determination. As the sun began to set, painting the desert sky in brilliant hues of orange and purple, Michelle made her way home to her mother. Her bag was heavy with books and notes from her latest research trip, but her heart felt lighter than it had in months. She was ready to move on and learn more about her heritage and the legacy her father had left for her.
I love you, Father. I promise. I'll make you proud.